So I just wanted to have an updated chat with you, Julian, just about the work that we do, and obviously we both specialise in tinnitus clients, as well as, I work with other people as well, I'm sure you do, but tinnitus seems to be one of the main priorities in my practice at the moment. So I thought it'd be good to just have another chat with you and discuss some of the things that we've come across recently, and how we're working with that, and just to get some new information out there, really,
Sure.
to the tinnitus world. So I don't know, how about I ask you a couple of things?
Sure,
You've been
absolutely
so,
fine.
So recently, I mean, the clients that I've been having recently, I keep finding that come in with tinnitus is they tend to have a lot of stress and tension around their neck and TMJ, or their jaw. It seems it's a common thing with regards to people getting stressed when people hold their stress up here and their shoulders and neck anyway. But it seems to be quite common, more and more so, with people with tinnitus as well, and them not really understanding or knowing why their tinnitus has come on. But once we start working around these areas, especially in the jaw area, and then their tinnitus starts to back off. I wondered have you discovered the same sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so common to have problems with the face, the TMJ, and the jaw that most people can influence their tinnitus by clenching their teeth or jutting the jaw out, or craning the head from side to side, even pushing. You can change the tone of tinnitus, and structural tension seems to go hand in hand with the auditory stress of tinnitus. And if you think about it, the central nervous system registers physical stress and nervous system stress. Any stressor or activator can push into tinnitus. It's so common for me that with most of my clients, I encourage them to give themselves facials, jaw massages. I encourage guys to go and have facials to learn what they're like, because they're blissfully relaxing, and then they can start doing it to themselves every time they shave. Women are usually much better at self-care than men in that way. And if you can get the structures of the face and the jaw to feel as comfortable as possible, or this whole level, the base of the head, ear, face, jaw, it definitely helps free up slack and brings the reactivity down, which has a very beneficial knock-on effect for tinnitus.
Yeah, I agree completely. I've just qualified in reflexology in the last year, last 6 months actually, and I'm about to do. Thank you. And I'm about to do some facial reflexology work around this, based on this.
Fantastic.
And it's like acupressure, I guess, and they use similar sort of ways that acupuncture would work in the face. So I'm looking forward to that being like a new useful tool that we can work with releasing this tension and this pressure, and like you say, in the occipital area at the back of the head, which tends to be one of the focal points for me, as well as here. But yeah, it's definitely something that I think would start to benefit people a lot.
And there's one area that I'm very interested in at the moment, is the superior cervical ganglion. It's just behind the jaw area. And if you take up contact here, we can do it to ourselves quite easily. So the fingers just rest in the groove behind the jaw. And
it's quite sore, isn't it? It tends to be quite a sore.
It is a bit tender.
Tender, yeah.
If you leave the fingers in there and just wait, get very comfortable, get cushions under your arms, or as a practitioner, tune into the client. After a while, you can feel like a buzzy charge. You can feel like energy, electricity. This is actually like a power center. So it's where the central nervous system has an exchange of masses of energy, masses of nervous inputs here, and working there, you can kind of release a lot of tension in the face and jaw. And whenever I work here, I often notice people's tinnitus gets a bit better, and they feel things settling. The pressure comes down.
It can often change in the session, in a craniosacral session, can't it? As well, just the tinnitus can be very changeable And it's often a case that the pressure, sometimes it goes up before it comes down within the session, which sometimes clients get a little bit confused about. But it's I guess we've had this chat before. It's a bit like taking the lid off a pressure cooker, where the steam has to come up before it comes back down. So it's just a case of working and getting in there and getting the client to obviously work with that as well. And even if it's a day-to-day massage of the face, maybe at the desk at work or any time they can, really, without hurting themselves.
Because a lot of times clients come along and they get relief from cranial work and their tinnitus comes down somewhat, and some people it switches off, or some people it sort of gradually comes down over a period of time. So if they can tip the balance more into settling and calming, then the whole activation level, the ups and downs of tinnitus can come down significantly. So things like shaving every day or putting face cream on, if you could just turn that into self-care and self-soothing and releasing tension, a little bit often goes a hell of a long way. And I find when your tinnitus comes right down, you can switch it off by doing these things. So, it doesn't matter where you are on the tinnitus journey. If you've just started and you're on a high plateau of stress, it's still incredibly good to get into regular, healthy practices. Just massaging, yawning, stretching, just rubbing your eyes. Kids do it spontaneously. It's automatically de-stressing. And when we yawn, it's de-stressing enough to get the eyes tearing up, the ears purring. Those are the muscles attached to the auditory bones and the eardrum, and the popping eustachian tubes. It really oxygenates your inner ear, and it really gets a whole structural system to free up.
They can be linked with that sometimes, like a fullness. People complain of a fullness in their head, quite common when they've got tinnitus as well. And again, this kind of treatment can really help release some of that. I think it's the muscle in the inner ear, isn't it?
Yeah, all the auditory canal gets squeezed, and the muscles get tight, and the blood flow gets restricted. So with a lot of sustained stress, it can feel really uncomfortable, and it can interfere with the function, the physiology of hearing. So it can actually help you lose a bit of hearing stress. So you want to get it as comfortable and as open and as relaxed as possible, and blood flow and cerebral spinal fluid flow increases, which directly helps and work much better.
I mean, there's 150 ways to get tinnitus, isn't there? As you well know, and people will come in thinking that maybe they were, my clients in particular, because I used to work in music, come in thinking that it's sound induced, but then if they go for an ear test, it's can often not be the case. And that's when we discover that, if they turn their neck one way or they turn their neck the other way, and then the tinnitus starts to change and things start to move.
I mean, loud noise exposure is one of the most common triggers of tinnitus. And structural tension can really push into it. But the long-term tinnitus is actually much deeper down in the central nervous system, where the brainstem stops filtering out this irrelevant background buzz. So after a prolonged period of stress, you're tuning in and hearing something that normally gets inhibited and filtered out. So feeling very safe, calm and relaxed, and not worrying, switching off, coming out of fight or flight, is the long-term way out of tinnitus. And it can be a gradual thing, can't it? Coming out of the hypersensitive reactive state that people get themselves into. It's not just a flick of a quick switch, and we do have to work there, and it can be a gradual process, but it can be a very positive one, if we're on the right path. And I find, to be honest, that all the good change tends to happen gradually. You can get sudden tinnitus plummeting away and really big improvements, and it can be a bit up and downy, but over a period of time, the ups and downs come down gradually, and that's a good solid improvement. Things slowly change a lot.
it's generally a bigger picture, isn't it? With the whole thing, you know, you come in to see somebody see a craniotherapist or whoever for tinnitus, and once you start delving into everything else that's going on, it's you're treating a bigger picture as such, or that's the way I see it with most of my clients. But yeah, it's about getting well-being into the body, doing as much as you can to be kind to yourself, be kind to your nervous system, to allow your nervous system to settle, by whether that's doing yoga or whether that's doing some body scan meditations or breathing techniques. And I'll often ask clients to get involved in this if they're not already doing so. Even if it's difficult at first, you know, just even trying that for 5-10 minutes worth a day can be really useful and more powerful than what probably they realise.
I find most tinnitus people haven't yet learnt how to self-soothe.
Yeah.
And so I can be quite forceful with clients to say you must find some practice or some techniques and strategies where you can really settle yourself, switch off, take the focus off this and drop into it's I just think that's essential for making a good recovery.
Yeah, completely agree. And yeah, obviously with the limbic system as well is trying not to get into a state of despair or worry, because unfortunately it's a catch-22 situation that it starts to feed the tinnitus, and the more you stress and get angry about the tinnitus itself, the more it feeds that, unfortunately.
Well, that's why it's so important to avoid negative messages and to only learn from people who've got better. And you know, there are many health practitioners that may still have tinnitus and may still be on the journey down, and it's what we believe and the messages we tell ourselves inside our head, the narrative envelopes that go round and round in our head actually have a big impact on what happens. So if somebody gets tinnitus, they may freak out about it. If my tinnitus ever comes back, you know, if I eat far too much salt or I go to a loud concert, I went to a really loud concert last year and sat next to a loudspeaker, and I knew I'd get tinnitus, but I really wanted to listen to it. I went home and I had ringing in the ears, but I knew it would go. I was just so completely not bothered by it. I know how it works. It's so not threatening that the next day comes and I'm not even focusing on it, thinking about it, and it goes away. And the natural neuroplasticity of the mind, the ability of the brain to refresh itself and to constantly come back to the present moment with new possibilities in every second. You know, I just walk straight out of it. It leaves me behind.
I mean, that's with years of therapy for yourself, wasn't it? And obviously looking after yourself for a long time as well. With that you're able to do that now. And likewise for me, you know, I DJ'd in clubs for 20 years, and my nervous system was completely ramped up, comparable to where it is now. So, in the same vein, you know, if I go into a club now, which is far and few between, but if I do. And I'm expecting that tinnitus will probably be there when I get home. I know that I can do something about it. So whether or not that's going to yoga, whether or not I do some body scan meditations, anything to rebalance my nervous system. Sometimes I'll go swimming, something just to bring me back down, bring my auditory system back down to a more calm state. And the tinnitus disappears, and it's no longer there. But I think when you're getting hold of the tinnitus and it's a threat, and you're grabbing it, and you're playing with it, and you're bringing it into your forefront, and you're getting angry with it, and all of those things.
But once you experience prolonged periods of quiet, so you hear nothing, or it's not in your mind, you're not focusing on it, it's not there. It's just so not threatening anymore. So you can genuinely, from your direct experience, think, who cares? Yeah,
you've got to put a positive slant on it, and the brain likes that, doesn't it? And the brain starts to filter it out and pushes it into the background.
Yeah, when you experience things getting better, you know, that's undeniable, and that's then your sense of threat literally comes down. There's a big difference between believing something and thinking about things and experiencing improvement and actually getting back to quiet. You know, once you've got back to prolonged periods of quiet again, you know it can just switch off and go.
Yeah.
And no matter what anybody says, you have that in your awareness, in your experience.
I think it just takes a little bit of commitment on the side of the person, and just don't expect things to change completely overnight. If you've been running around in a quite a stressed kind of life state for a long time, then it's just going to take a little while for things to come back down and rebalance, which is what I try to get across to people. But also in the same vein that it can be helped, and just with some help, commitment and help, essentially.
Yeah, so staying away from negative messages, having somewhere to go where you see maybe a hands-on therapist and he or she can just switch you off, and then you learning to self-soothe, and getting on with things you love and enjoy. You know, one of the best strategies for tinnitus is just to do all the things you love, get stuck into all your greatest projects, to meet up with all your friends and have nice meals together. People, when they're having supper together, don't think about the tinnitus. They don't focus on it, and it can kind of just slip away. You know, I love the fact that 22% of the population get tinnitus, but only 1.6% of people develop it into a prolonged, stressful symptom for a period of time.
Yeah.
That means most people get better. It's the most normal thing in the world to get better.
Yeah.
And people just get on with their lives. I think if you can get support and help to release and let go and settle, what you're aiming for is that sort of sense of safety, calm. You're in your body, everything feels manageable. You're not focusing on this, you're focusing on a body-based. That's a very useful thing to aim for.
Yeah, great. I think that's all I really wanted to talk about today.
Where are you working these days?
I've actually just started in a clinic in North London, in de Beauvoir near Islington, but I'm basically East and North London. I'll put my website underneath this video, so if anybody wants to get in touch.
What is your website?
It's simonbakerholistichealth.com.
And your phone number?
07739 340 201. So if anybody wants to get in touch to ask questions, or you just feel free to do so, I'm happy to help. But I'll put the information with the video as well, so people can see. But yeah, thanks for your time. I hope that was useful for you.